I follow that, but just in case there's ever a question, Linco Supply Chain Solutions is the company that I've run for the better part now of 17 years, and we are a for-profit company. See, I have been in Tulsa. I've grown up in and around Tulsa my entire life. I've had the great privilege of traveling globally for the firm. Our company does work with other companies in helping them optimize their supply chains. So we have the benefit of bringing together the many, many different stakeholders involved in making a supply chain and distribution networks in today's world work on a global scale. You know, before we started, I got invited and accepted to be on this panel, I asked several of my colleagues and said, when you think about corporate social responsibility, what do you think of? And most of them touched on either the philanthropic or the humanitarian side of corporate social responsibility. You know, you're aiding the community, having your employees involved in giving back. And interestingly enough, and then I looked up the definition of corporate social responsibility, and I'm sure there's many on the website, but the one that intrigued me the most is it said, you know, corporate social responsibility is the ability for any organization to make a profit. Period. And I thought, wow, that sounds really self-serving. I mean, I don't know if I want to get up and say that. But when you really think about structuring your business and being socially responsible to all the partners involved that you do business with, and if you're equally interested in helping them, structuring relationships that help them to thrive, grow, and be profitable within your industries, ultimately, you're serving all aspects of corporate social responsibility because you're creating ethical and integrity relationships, and you're helping companies thrive in the environment, which creates jobs in the environment. It keeps people happy, creates economic stability. I mean, gosh, what a movement it would be if everybody really strived for value-based partnerships, you know, from a business perspective, so that everyone could be profitable. So from that perspective, I know there's many great companies in this room today, and we too have embraced philanthropic, social, regulatory disciplines around corporate social responsibility in our organization. But today I'm going to focus on the economic side of it.
Hi, I'm Kim Owens, and I work at BAMA. And if anyone knows BAMA and you know our CEO, Paula Marshall, you know that corporate responsibility is the heartbeat of our culture there at BAMA. And it's mainly because of her and her family and the legacy of the family. The fourth generation is starting to work at Marshall there at BAMA. And the reason I think we've gone and we just celebrated our 80-year anniversary is because how we treat our people, how we show up in the community, and what we stand for as BAMA. And really, it's not, with us, it's not so much of what you buy, but why you buy it. And that's why we're very passionate about our products, but we're equally passionate about our people and the community that we serve.
It's an honor to be with you on this panel. My name's Bailey Siegfried with Nordam. I've had the honor of serving our team as the leader of culture, communication, corporate responsibility. For us, it's just responsibility, the way we look at it. When my parents founded the company 48 years ago, they started raising the Nordam family and saw that it was their responsibility to look after the employees, and then they decided to call them stakeholders because they had a stake in each other's safety, a stake in the community, and a stake in the future of the family, the Nordam family. About the same time of that growth, they started growing a family. I'm the youngest of 6, so by the time I came around, you know, I was drinking Coke out of a bottle, and I rotted my front teeth out. I had silver front teeth. When I was a kid, I started the trend. But my parents decided at that point that—
True story.
Yeah, it's crazy raising a family and a company, and they made a conscious decision that they couldn't live 2 value systems, so they began they just took what they saw and led the family with, what you'd want to do as a parent, and applied it at Nordam. So the founding of who we are and the essence of who we are and our responsibility begins with family. And we lead and run our company that way. So if you think about someone you love or your own children, number one, what do you want for them? You want them to be safe, never get hurt, nothing bad ever happened to them. Number two, you want them to be healthy, live a long time, be around here a long time to love on. And that's just not fit and healthy and things like that. It's about a healthy work environment, one filled with respect. Think about your home, no fighting, no biting, right? Things like that, living on the golden rule. Those are the values within our company, but that's not enough. Not just family, being at home and safe, but you have to secure the future of your family. And part of that future is growing a business that gives back to the community, one that's service. Service is the type of leadership that it's run on. And because we wouldn't be here without a great community, we wouldn't be here without people like you making sure that morals, ethics, and things like that are always a topic. So for us, it's about family and it's about a responsibility as a community leader.
It's a great introduction. Thank you. Let's hit on something that, Wendy, that you began to discuss, which is that balance, that healthy balance between the company's fiduciary and profit goals with the interest, engagement, and abilities of the workforce to achieve their company goals. And I'm curious, have you ever found that socially responsible goals with your company are ever at odds with the needs to make a profit? If you have any examples of that.
Sure. I believe that you can serve two masters and generate the best results. I think we can comfortably, ethically protect, the profitability of our company and of those people that we do business with, while also serving our employees. And we do this because in practicing corporate social responsibility, you're impacting people, whether it's in your organization, your employees, the firms and their employees that you work with, and people are just people. And people want to do business with people they can trust. And I think that, I think it's important that they feel fulfilled and appreciated, and that everyone is serving a bigger cause. So, companies I've worked in consulting, my firm has worked with other customers, where literally they train their buyers in the organization on how to negotiate with suppliers to the point that they pressure for the betterment of themselves, but not for the betterment of a value-based partnership where the other person comes out of it with a win-win environment. So I think that there's debate around whether or not you put your employees first or your clients first, meaning your business needs. I think that corporate social responsibility is something that we live and not do. And as a corporation, if you work the concepts and the disciplines of corporate responsibility into the very essence of your organization, and you onboard people within your organization that value those same things, you won't need policy to govern ethics and integrity. People will do it, and they will serve that, and they will extend that with the others, with the people that they do business with, which protects yourselves and protects others in the organization and outside of your organization as well. So creating that win-win environment and people doing it passionately without necessarily being told exactly how they need to do it and structurally, it's something that happens naturally within them because they value the same things and they want to see people succeed and thrive. I think that's the key balance.
Thank you. Bailey, you talked about your employees as stakeholders, and I love that you think of them that way and talk about them in that way. Can you talk about how demonstrating the concern and respect for your employees as a key stakeholder group has then become apparent, it's become apparent to you that adds to the bottom line or helps you be more successful in
Sure.
business?
Sure. So people are the heart of our company. They're the heart of all of yours. You are an individual that wakes up every day and makes a decision, whether you have direct reports or not. You make a decision to lead and lead yourself. And we're actively recruiting and fostering people that have a service-oriented mindset and are leaders in that space, because ultimately a service-oriented mindset is one that, for us at Nordam, makes for a better team, makes for securing the future of the whole Nordam family. And that heart that gives back are the ones that become great leaders, great impactors in the community. So we see it as a function of who we are as people, and people are what help make a difference in our bottom line and in our community and in the world as a whole.
Great. Kim, I know you guys, like you said, have been doing this at Bama for 4 generations, not new, regardless of the jargon. So can you talk about how it's been central to your business success?
Yeah. I think we strive to put purpose as the heart of our business. And if you probably read the Purpose-Driven Life, well, we like to think we're the purpose-driven company. And with that, our customers and suppliers, it really is more of a family environment. It goes beyond the products that we produce, and our mission is people helping people be successful. And literally, I think everyone in the organization, it just flows from the very top with Paula all the way through the organization, and you can just see it alive and well. And we think of the planet and the community and our workers kind of all together, like Bailey was saying. And that is there's no way that can't increase your bottom line.
Thank you. Phil, you talked about that you're a little bit different up here today. You aren't trying to make a profit. That would be against the law. So I do know that. I'm in the nonprofit world now today, so I learned that.
Welcome.
Thank you. What are some ways that TCF or a community foundation can empower and support corporations, like we have mostly here today, in their ability to be more socially responsible and philanthropic?
I'll try to start back in 1999 and let you know where we've gone in about 2 minutes. So we started with $117,000 in the bank whenever I first arrived at Tulsa Community Foundation. Founders were Keith Bailey with Williams, Ray, Bailey's father, and then Paula Marshall. Sorry to exclude you. And then there were like 14 other founders as well of the Community Foundation. Since then, we've grown to be the second largest community foundation. We were the largest community foundation in the country until Mark Zuckerberg decided to kick in $1 billion a year to Silicon Valley Community Foundation. But we have $4.5 billion working in this community for our charitable needs, which is but that's not because of me, that's not because of our board, that's because of the generosity of this community. And I always call it America's most generous city. In fact, I trademarked that, and if you want to use that, let's talk, because I'd love to get that out in the community. But I truly do believe that it's America's most generous city. So with respect to corporations or individuals, so all of us are probably philanthropists in this room. We each have helped another human being at one point in our lives. Some of us consciously do that in different ways. Some of us, it just happens. But for corporations, we're set up just to provide support services. So we can provide the mechanical expertise where you don't have to go out and create a corporate foundation of your own. You create a corporate foundation through the community foundation. We take care of all the boring audit stuff, the tax stuff, and all the legal stuff for 30 cents on $100,000. It's 35 basis points of a fee. So it's not 30 cents on $100,000, but I'll get with the math in just a second. It's 1/3 of 1%. But we're just helping corporations do this corporate social responsibility in the most efficient way. We're the lowest cost community foundation because we want to make philanthropy easy for anyone or any corporation that's out there. We're also helping corporations help their employees. So you don't have to just give to other nonprofit organizations. You can also create structures, as has Nordam, as has Bama, as has Williams, as has Kaiser Francis and BOK and all these other small to big companies. You can help your employees through the Community Foundation as well. medical emergency, funeral expenses, disasters, those kinds of things. So corporate social responsibility for the Community Foundation doesn't just extend to people in need throughout the community, but people in need within your own corporate walls as well.
Thank you for all you do in our community.
Oh, I'm lucky. I'm the luckiest guy alive.
Let's turn it over to the audience and see what questions you have. And Lynn, is there a microphone that they should wait for, or should they just speak
I'll just
loudly?
yell it out.
Okay,
We're not low tech.
Low tech, okay. Anyone, if you just raise your hand, if anyone has a question about corporate social responsibility or reporting or any of those concerns. Kathy?
How are you handling any conflict you might have with different companies when different people in your organization may disagree where they believe a political state or stand is being taken? Like if you have a certain policy or rule, let's just procedure in the press, and you have an employee that disagrees with that, have you had any of that, or how you handle conflict with that?
For us, I think about at our family dinner table, we leave politics out of it. So that's, nobody really talks politics with us. Anybody's free to have their own beliefs, and that's it for us.
From the Community Foundation side, we don't get involved in politics, but we do get involved in advocacy to the limits allowed by the federal government. So there's like $1 million cap, but we can get involved in typically general referenda that are put on ballots, so the vision tax or school bond issues or things like that. I don't know if that's politics necessarily, except for there are people for it and against it. But the real political battles we have to totally disengage from.
Kathy, I know one thing that's interesting that we've navigated at Williams, where you work, is that politics are part of inclusion and respect. And so I think it's important to let employees know that we don't expect all employees to believe the same and have the same beliefs, but behaviors are important, and we mandate things in business. We might mandate eyewear, we might mandate, steel-toed boots, whatever your business place may be. But I think it's important to have those from a corporate social responsibility and an ethics perspective to make sure that people understand that their beliefs are their own, but behaviors sometimes and positions from a business perspective might be driven by a bottom line or a business need. Other questions?
Has your corporate responsibility changed at the family table with the insertion of millenniums in your employee base? Or has that impacted you in any way whatsoever?
I'll take that. I would say no, because it's always been, like I said before, not kind of what we did, but why we did it. And that's basically from, the millennials issue. It's actually just helped us, just because of the purpose-driven company that we are. So I would say, it hasn't really affected us much, and we're a very, very diverse organization, and like they were saying, respect and inclusion is one of our big focuses that we do.
So do you see, for any of you, do you see millennial the generation having a positive reaction and to your corporate social responsibility work?
Yeah, we have a corporate citizen report that I kind of help with, and we put that out, and I think it's available from a link for you guys if you want it. But we even got feedback from that report, even people that don't even work at our organization, loving what we do and wanting a copy of the report, wanting it for their companies, and it talks a lot, like I said, the diversity and inclusion. So we see that has helped a lot.
Kim, while we're on that topic, I think it would be great. There's a lot of doing. I think that many of our companies are actively participating in many of the facets of corporate social responsibility. I think taking it to that next level is often how we talk about it, how we're reporting it, what kind of internet platform or things like that, links. Many people are probably intrigued by the work you're doing there. So could you talk a little bit about how you're taking it in terms of measurement to the next level. And tell us about the B Corp. Share what that is and how you'll share that information with us.
Sure. So the highest standard of corporate responsibility is B Corp certification. And you might not have heard about it, but you might have seen a little B with a circle on some logos like Patagonia, Etsy, Unilever, companies like that. It's basically being the good within your community, and instead of being best in the world, you're trying to strive to be the best for the world. And it's basically what we're getting rated and scored on. It's a very intense assessment that breaks out the workers, community, and your environment. And it's sort of like a corporate sustainability survey, but just blown up. And you take it, and you want to get a score of 80 or above on this. And it basically highlights where in those categories your company is not achieving what they say. It's basically, you can talk the talk, but this is walking the walk, and you get a rating for it. And many companies are moving towards this. What we would do is we'll take it, and once we get the 80, it's actually out of a score of 200, and then you kind of have a roadmap of where to work from there, and where we will improve even more within things we do within our workers, with our team members here in the community and in the environment, from things like, we're working now in a community garden, and just different things that help with, we don't want to just help with this assessment, but it actually just helps us and puts, a measurement and a score that we can improve upon. So we're striving to do that. We're on the journey now. It's kind of like a few years back we did the Malcolm Baldrige and got that award, and now this really
What's your
is
timing
our
on
passion.
that? When will you know your score?
We hope, the thing is, the smaller companies, it's actually probably easier to get B Corp certified, because once you're a larger company, we have to get the whole global base. So we're working now with our Poland company and China, and we have to get them as well certified before BAMA as a whole has certification. But it's probably an 8 to 12 month process.
Well, you teed up a great transition for me, because I'm very interested, Wendy, to hear a little bit more about the global aspect of corporate social responsibility, and particularly relative to supply chains, because you mentioned how diverse your supply chain and partnerships are, and along the supply chain, how much diversity you find among your suppliers and buyers, and that's such a large factor in ethics and economic vitality of organizations. So can you describe a couple of common pitfalls to avoid, or give us some examples from a global perspective on your supply chain work?
Well, sure. Certainly what we have found is that in any organization, we have to take into account the cultural nature of who we're doing business with and who our clients are doing business with. And so helping our employees and internalize those cultural respect rules and respect is one big piece of creating trusted partnerships, whether it be with suppliers in China or local US-based or Mexican-based companies. That's the first step. But what we have found, being a consultant, an outsider looking in, and our objective with our customers is typically to help them put business constructs in place that create healthy, profitable, trusted relationships that allow them to continue to sustain their success, but not only that, but grow and thrive, as an organization. And they can't do that by themselves. They have to extend everything that we're talking about here today to their network of people that support them. And sometimes I see, as companies get larger, that we lose the concept of internalizing and sharing that sense of corporate responsibility and building those trusted relationships by putting corporate constructs in place that end up having unintended consequences. So I'll give you a couple of examples. How many buyers or purchasing people do we have in the room? Okay, good. I can talk about this then. No, seriously. Every organization, at one point or another, one of their ways to try to institutionalize a fair and open market practice so that everyone gets a fair shot at the business is to put standardized RFP processes in place. Yes? Okay. So what we have found is that typically, number one, RFPs are less than 10% effective. We, as an outsider looking in, typically RFPs are exactly what they say, request for price. They tend to be very structured and driven toward price only. And so that alone violates the concept of, are we creating a good trusted relationship with a win-win? It's being used as a tool to repress, protect your own profitability and make it someone else's issue to have to deal with. And the other thing that we see, with RFPs is that typically people violate its actual use. So they'll run the process because they have to go to their boss and say, look, I evaluated three suppliers, but in the entire process, they knew exactly who they wanted to do business with to begin with. So I'm not saying the RFP is a bad tool, but I've seen it be put in place for great intentions of creating that fair and open marketplace, but then through having the unintended consequences of actually violating the original intent of retaining and creating that value and trusted relationship. So another great example of that would be, companies that train their buyers on negotiation tactics that push cash terms, right? So today we want to consume or buy product commodity Y, but I don't want to pay for it for 60 days. Well, I don't know about you, but I can't walk into a gas station, consume a candy bar, and say, hey, I'll be back in 60 days to pay for that. But what that really does, that construct, and while it's trying to help and retain, it has the best intent of retaining the profitability, the cash management within your own internal organization, again, somebody's got to pay. If you're going to extend 60-day terms and you want to put that on your supplier, well, your supplier is then going to put that on their supplier. But in the end, somebody has to pay. And so wouldn't it be great if we all just paid for the services that we consume when we consume them? And we spend our time measuring and communicating the relationship, the trusted relationship, and how well is that working, and how can we do better together, down this path. Are you okay? Am I okay? Does this relationship still work? As opposed to using mandated RFP processes. So, we encourage, businesses to take a step back from that and say, let's look at what we're really trying to accomplish, and how can we, to Kim's point, how can we put communication devices, monitoring, measurement, collaborative feedback loops, with your partnerships so that we can be loyal, so that we can incentivize and motivate in a positive way. So those are just a few examples that we've noticed.
Thank you. Very specific. I appreciate that. Bailey, companies ingrain safety into their company culture and environment, and those are key considerations of a responsible company, how they intersect with the environment and safety. So can you talk to how Nordam brings those messages to, and a focus to employees about the environment and safety?
Sure. So as I talked about in the intro, us being a family company, started on family values. Safety in the environment and healthy work environment and actually the environment around us are a part of who we are as a family. We talked about that. But what we do is we continually talk about that in our meetings and messages, the visuals. I mean, our mission is that we fly families safely. It's about people like you have loved ones that are taking off from the Earth's surface every day, going up in the air and coming back safely. And believe it or not, in 24 hours on average, it's 8 million people do that. So we have just this continuous rhythm of communicating that begins with family. It's about flying families safely, and it's about what you want. And we get the mindset is about what you'd want for your own children. And you want them to be safe, you want them to be healthy, and you got to secure the future. And a part of securing the future and safety and health is looking after the lives that you lead, taking care of the community that you're a part of, and taking care of the environment in which you operate. Because the environment around us, the idea is that it's free, but it really isn't. It's actually we're taking a toll on it, and we have to be cognizant and recognize that, and factor that into the decisions we make. For again, back to the family, our people, our community, and the environment in which we operate. So it's a constant rhythm of communication, visuals, and never forgetting that what we do at Nordam is we fly families safely, and we take care of the families that fly those families safely.
That's great, thank you. Before we have our panelists close, are there other questions from the audience? Stephanie?
Any panelists have aspects of corporate social responsibility built into your incentive plans?
For those of you here, in case you couldn't hear, the question was, do any of these companies have corporate social responsibility built into their incentive plans?
Go ahead.
Well, if we continue with the theme that I've been on, the answer would be yes, because the company is successful when we have successful partnerships. So we've tried to build metrics around how effective those partnerships are, and are they serving the greater purpose, and therefore, creating the profitability as desired within the company. But in the end, I think that it's really more about a belief system that you set up within the organization, and ensuring that you're recruiting the right people in that also share those same beliefs. I don't believe it's something that's necessary for you to incentivize. You'll certainly get profitability as an outcome because you've created the human factor, you've created the ability for people to see how they impact others and thrive in an environment where everyone is trusted in the relationships, not only with internally in the company, but who they work with every day. So I think it's somewhat self-motivating and more intrinsically motivated in the company, but you can certainly tie certain aspects of it to an incentive program.
I second that. It's good.
One of the things I want to address is, some of you might be thinking, okay, so how do we do a lot of this? How do we get started? Where do we begin to tighten up, maybe have policy or reports? How do we go there? And I know my friends at Williams, Kathy Wiedenoff and Sarah Delgado and Nicole Nishinzi, are on that path right now in terms of how it's packaged for communication in a sense. And so BAMA has been very generous. You can go to www.bama.com/corporate-sustainability-report, which I think is interesting because sometimes CSR is corporate sustainability reporting, sometimes it's corporate social responsibility reporting. It can be a lot of different things. What I think is important is that you figure out the intersection between what your company's strategic drivers are, what makes your company tick, what you're doing well, and then what works in terms of these reporting mechanisms. Because it is certainly not one size fits all. I think if you look at a global indicator report, you think, oh my gosh, we can never get there. What I would encourage you to do is to go out and look online at many of, it could be your competitors, could be other industries, see how they're talking about their CSR. And what you'll find is, hey, we're already doing a lot of that, and let's pick, to get started, pick what you want to talk about, and so that you don't feel so overwhelmed. Any other advice for getting started beyond that?
Not on getting started, but just being proud of what you yourself or your company has done. And my perspective comes from the community perspective, and I know not all of you work for large corporations, some of you with smaller corporations, but as I look at the list of things that the Community Foundation has been involved in, we couldn't be involved in them if the community wasn't involved in them. So the Gathering Place, One Oak Field, I-44 beautification, the Educare facilities, the zoo, the Tulsa Area United Way, all of those things. And like when I walk into One Oak Field, yeah, I'm paying to go see a baseball game. But most of our corporations paid $30 and $40 million in order for that field to even be there for us to enjoy. So I hope, and BAMA does a really nice job of this, Williams does too. I just don't know enough about your corporations and what y'all do, but they really do push that down to the employees so the employees can be proud of the work that the corporation itself does. But we live in a very, very special community, and the more we all acknowledge what we all have done in one way, shape, or form through our corporations, through the giving that we are providing as employees, I think the better our community will become.
More closing comments? Mm-hmm.
I had a question. What was the name of the throwing the baseball in the backyard in your
quality, family focused.
yes.
Time together.
So it might be called volunteering or giving service opportunities, but as a family business, and I work with there's 4 siblings and 1 cousin, and we all work together in a part of running a family business. I remember my mom came up with this term. It's called forced family fun. So she did that, and we do that ourselves. But those give back opportunities is family fun, and that's service and volunteerism. So that's you're doing it already, but just bottling up, how much time people are putting in can be the beginning of your corporate social responsibility group or effort.
A few years back at Williams, I know we were doing some employee surveys similar to that, and we asked about attraction. Stephanie, I'm sure you remember, we asked about what attracted people, what retained, and while the corporate social responsibility factors weren't necessarily a big attraction point, people would rate higher maybe compensation or career moves and things like that, what we found is that they rated very high for retention, particularly with our young professionals. So young professionals in particular wanted to work for a company where they could see and participate in those values, whether it's volunteering or knowing that the company is doing good things in the environment, any of the things we've talked about. So I like that, forced family fun. Kim, any last comments for us in terms of advice for people getting started, or anything that you would like to leave them with from BAMA's perspective?
Yeah, no, well, anyone that wants to contact me and I can show them or help them with and let you know my journey in the BAMA's journey for the B Corp certification, I would be happy to help. But it is a journey, just like Bailey said, just wherever you start. I'm pretty sure everyone is doing this. You just haven't put it all together or haven't started measuring it. But it really can be done, and I'd be happy to help.
Wendy, you and your team are many of those 8 million flyers every day, I think, all over the world. So from the global perspective and the supply chain, what would you like to leave our audience with today?
I think, just along the same lines, but I think it can be as simple as just messaging within your organization. I like that you said it's purpose. We can talk about metrics and numbers and all of those things, but when you start talking about why are we here each day, Lenco, every employee would say we are here to serve ourselves and everyone else. And when you have that servant attitude built into the organization, people seeking to serve as opposed to seeking to sell or seeking to, answer the phone, within 30 seconds or, whatever that is. When people understand the bigger purpose and as executives, you have the ability to continually message around that. This is why we do what we do. Here's how we serve and seek to serve our customers and our suppliers and ourselves and our employees and your families. Then it really creates a movement that anybody that's attached to you, it's almost contagious. People around and outside of our organization start to speak the same language and all of those things, and they want to be a part of the humanitarian, philanthropic, regulatory ideas and values that we serve. And when you do that, it creates a very prosperous environment. So you can't help but to affect the economic aspects of your business. So that's what I would say in closing.
Well, since we're at Oklahoma Ethics Organization today, I promised Phil he would have time to eat his dreamsicle cake. And so I want to make sure.
I already ate it.
In a timely fashion. Phil, do you have any closing comments?
No, I think I already closed. I would just say be purposeful and be proactive in your charitable giving. A lot of us, me included, unfortunately wait on solicitations to come, wait on opportunities to come. And, like 10 or 15 years ago, we sat down with our kids and we said, you know what, this is how much we're going to give to charity. So do that as individuals, do that as corporations, but go back to the office or go back to your home and say, look, this is really how much we want to do, or this is how much we want to do for others, including our employees. This is how much we want to do for the community. And it's always been a great decision. From my personal standpoint, I never have missed any of those dollars because I know those dollars go to help so many other people. And I've seen how it's affected so many other families in our community as well. The greatest thing about Tulsa is all the families who created it and gave us our charitable mission that we've lived with for decades upon decades. Charitable giving is an expectation in many ways and an opportunity. So I'm grateful that we live in Tulsa where we push each other to help each other.
And we hear from these businesses up here, you understand why Tulsa is one of the most generous cities. And I just would encourage you as you go back to think about that strategic intersection, that meeting of where your strategic business drivers and opportunities meet with and connect with employee engagement and accountability and employees' desire to play for a winning team, that ability that you have to make your communities and your neighborhoods stronger and healthier, and then finally, how doing these things can increase the odds and the ability for your business to be successful. That could be partnerships with your suppliers, it could be partnerships with other community collaborations, it can be partnerships with your customers. But there's lots of ways for this to be a win-win-win, and I think corporations and businesses are very much uniquely positioned to drive that kind of win-win-win in our communities. So please give a hand to our panel.
Way to go.